Hey, Dr. Keith.
Hey, Ricky, how's it going?
Good, the doctor is in. You're my doctor right now because Mo's not here. I think she's coming in a little bit, but thank you for being here for this very, very, very special love show. Love edition of the doctor is in today.
Oh, it
And
is Valentine's Day.
it's Valentine's Day. I said on Facebook, love should have more letters because it's such a big word. Such a big word. Here comes Dr. Mo. Good she's here. So I'm glad she's here. So, and we are going to talk about a real live love story. I'm so excited, so excited, so excited to talk about a real live love story. Hey, Lovey.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Doc?
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
it's good to see you, Doc. I'm well.
You
I
got
know.
your
Happy Love Day.
everybody got their little Valentine's Day pink on
Yes.
or red.
That's what I heard is supposed to be red. I don't have too much red in my closet.
I know.
I don't have that much red. I have a pink shirt. So that's as close as
Rocking it too.
Yeah, you rocking it. Yes, he is.
Right. Rocking it too.
Pink is
Seabrook
our
family,
color.
how you doing?
well, we got a nice couple for you.
I love it.
Ready.
Well,
We're
the
so
doctor's
excited
in.
about this love. This is a real love story, And I think, and I haven't met these beautiful people until today, so I can't wait to hear their story. And we got another advocate in the house. I'm hearing. I'm so excited about that. So
I love it.
let's go. So, Dr. Keith, you go first and tell everybody who you are, even though everybody knows who you are, but whatever. And then
Okay.
introduce our lovely guests.
Well, I'm Keith Crawford. I'm the Director of Clinical Trials and Education at Prostate Health Education Network. And I'm very happy to be here on the doctor's end to really talk about relationship and caregiving, support, spirituality. So Valentine's Day is a little bit more than just flowers and candy when we talk about patients with cancer.
Every day is a little bit more, every hour, every minute, right? Every second counts. Seconds.
Absolutely.
So, Cherry, who are you? Introduce yourself and your beautiful husband, and you guys have beautiful outfits. We're so excited to have you.
Told you they sharp.
You're sharp.
We're
You're
just happy to be here. My name is Cherry Seabrook. I'm retired from the Medical University Hospital as a radiation oncology nurse, and I am a survivor of breast cancer, and I'm just so happy to be here. I don't know what we're expecting of us other than, what has happened to us during our phase of cancer and the things that we are going through, which is, I feel like God has been so good to me and my family and all the support that I've gotten. It's fabulous.
God is good. God is good. So, like you're like me doing your God job, right?
That's for sure.
So who is this? Who is this like handsome young man sitting next to you in his red vest?
Well, I'm Charles Seabrook, and I'm a retired postal worker, and most of my life has just been supporting the work that my wife has been doing in the eradication of cancer, working with cancer oncology and radiation therapy, and it's whatever has to be done or she's doing. I just try to be that support, and I'm here now because they're saying they were looking for, I don't know, love and
Survivors.
and survivors, and hopefully I'll be a survivor because I'm surviving thus far. I've been recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I've been an advocate and support and helping the wife with the programs that she's associated with and informing people. And it's been decades that we've been after that with cancer and all forms of cancer and support groups. So I found out just a few days ago that I was going to be a part of the program, drafted by the wife, and I could
And
not.
that's what we do. That's what we do.
I couldn't refuse. In fact, I was on the network this past January when on that program and was looking, and I've since invited other folks to be online. I don't know if they are as well. My brother, in fact, and I'm just the laborer to go along in the support for what you folks out front are trying to do, and being that support to the foundation that you are.
Well, we're so grateful that you're here. Go ahead, Sherry.
Well, he's been a big supporter of me, and just trying to get him to the right people to figure out what treatment he's going to need, and doing background work, and actually, talking to different doctors and deciding where we will go. I mean, we were supposed to have this information a month and a half ago, and we just got the information where the referral is. I could do it myself, but I was waiting to see what they were doing so I can help other people, especially my husband, get into the place where I know the doctors, I know all the doctors and how they would go about treatments, and actually trying to find out why it's taking so long to get information I could get. If we went over there to get the information, they said, no, we have to do it for you. You don't have to do anything for me. All we need is the papers and the information. We have our insurance. We don't have to use the VA, but he chooses to use the VA. So that's where we're going. And
So we're gonna have to talk after this
oh
because
yeah, oh yeah,
we have everything.
I know.
That's it. So we're gonna talk about this one because that's just, that's
Yes.
that point that you bring up. I'm sorry for interrupting. For one, wanted to go back again. Mo, Ricky, I just want to go back one step. We're talking to a radiation oncology nurse who's
I
Black.
got that. Badass all
I was
around.
gonna
That's
comment on that
it. Like
too.
I was like, I
We
said,
got
like, I
Drop
said,
the mic. Yeah.
I said, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I'm
No, we
saying,
heard.
I'm giving Brother Charles, I want to give you your respect, but I had to stop back and just bring back how powerful of that statement that your wife made about herself. Because back in the day, there weren't that many, and still right now that they're not
Aren't
that
there many?
Black oncology nurses.
Right. And,
So-
and it begs the question, Terry, did you ever think that you would be a patient, and seeing what you've seen and knowing what you know, how was that for you on the other side of things? Because as when we're healthcare providers, we're in the seat of knowledge and support and everything. But then when we're a patient, it's a little bit different.
I know.
Mhm.
Well, I followed through with my yearly mammograms, and when I was told I had to come back to do another biopsy to make sure nothing was there. And then I found out, my belief was, well, golly, if I have cancer or breast cancer, then why not me? Because I've been around many, many women who've had breast cancer, and they've gone through so much. I understand what they went through, but I didn't understand the whole scope of this breast cancer diagnosis. But it was easy for me because I have the faith and I have the greatest doctors in the world to treat me. So I wasn't really worried about me.
Mhm.
I really, this was great for me because I understand now what it's like to feel and to know what these women went through. Some people are just, I mean, they're lost, It hurts me that I could not feel what they felt, but now I know. So when I talk to a breast cancer survivor, I can give them information, personal information that I have for myself that I can spread to them. And
So,
that's,
Charles, I had a quick question on from the emotional. So we were moving one direction with breast. And then how did you participate in the shared decision-making process with your wife?
Oh, yes, I was there as much as She was, I thought. But as I saw what was being done, what was suggested, and the various options, the knowledge she had going forward was so much more than a lay individual that was encountering facing the same things,
Mm.
not knowing what choices to make. They would leave it up to the doctor. And in some cases, the doctors in some case were looking to do a procedure from the back in some cases versus the front, then the aftercare and the healing process and treating process. Some of the patients would be very, mistreated to be left to have care that they really can't adequately do when there's another option. So her
Mm.
awareness and knowledge of what to do and what have you and her making the decision and the choices, and then having an inside knowledge of who some of the more recommended and successful doctors, that other folks don't have that same inside information, when they're encountered with it. But that's why in some cases when you choose a doctor or you go to one, you want one that's probably in the top of the class, and one rather than one that just inched through, and so much more of it now with not providing the best care and the concern. All of those things are out there, and the era in which I came up in, it seems like the whole attitude in healthcare was different. I came from a situation, this is a bit off of the subject, but I had an illness when I was in school, elementary school. My mother called a doctor. He came to the house, diagnosed me, and said, meet me at the hospital with this kid. And I had surgery that same day. Right now, a situation in a lot of kids' positions, if they are encountering the same thing, they probably wouldn't get an appointment to see a doctor probably for a month. So it's a journey, and in some cases, I think we take 2 steps forward and 1 back.
Mm.
But
You know, what's deep about that, Mr. Charles, is that I heard Cherry say that she was waiting for the health system to help her navigate, right? And we have gotten to the point. I remember my grandmother had breast cancer. She had to find her own doctors and find her own way. And she found it sort of daunting because she didn't know who the best ones were. And she didn't know who was affiliated with what systems and what the parking would be and how to navigate just the appointments. And so we've done all this work to create these navigational systems. But I hear you talking about where there's a breakdown in these systems, because years ago it used to be the doctor would show up and get the patient to do what they needed and get it done, and next thing you know, you're in surgery. Now we got a whole navigation network,
Mhm.
and you're waiting how long? Weeks, just to find out which doctor you're going to see, and they won't even let you do it anymore. You have to wait for us to do it, and it's a failure of that system. And I think it's worth mentioning and talking about as we talk about and advocate for more navigation. We need to really look at the way navigation is executed, how it impacts people, because it sounds great on paper, but then how it actually plays out in folks' lives can be a totally different scenario.
Yeah, and it's
And-
interesting, Sherry, because you know how to do it because you've done it as a
Right.
nurse. And so you know what the process takes. So to watch people not do it when you know how, it's got to be really, really frustrating. But also, Charles, you are so blessed. You have no, I mean, I'm sure you know how blessed you are just to have her as a resource in your house, and also as a survivor, because you know that cancer connection you can't just explain to people. You know, when I'm talking about Cherry, that, blessed love thing is like so vital to you. He doesn't have to talk, and you know how he feels.
Yeah,
Right.
because it's and that's why I said that there was this more of a dyadic approach at care where so you understand what the needs of Sherry, what Sherry's needs are as a breast cancer survivor, and she understands your needs because
Right.
of what she's seen. She's
Right.
like an inside person, and she knows how the game is played.
Right.
And so that's why it's so nice to hear, because you went down that road with her first, and now you're flipping it around. And now she's going down that journey with you also. And do you feel more comfortable, more confident about your journey moving forward?
Oh, yes, and Phil, I'm encouraged because I understand that it's not me, it's we, the world, and all of the individuals, and I'm in a fortunate position compared to a lot of individuals that that are that are caught with it. And I'm also more concerned that they're not looking to help the patients as much as they can. In fact, going back when we were talking earlier, when I had an issue that should have been addressed, I had the doctor to tell me that I would die with it, not from it. And that was their attitudes about not even giving you the test, which is a simple blood test, and getting a number to go forward. But
Wow.
Can I
it's
interrupt for a second?
Wow.
I wanted the audience to hear something that Charles stated about, what is it again, Charles? What kind of test?
a blood test that established the PSA score.
And that's why that was very important, because the
Yes,
men
but-
who are online, and your spouses who was online, and the people that are online, family members, significant others, it is just a blood test
That's right.
Yes.
from the prostate cancer perspective. And a lot of people don't want to go to this area or this space because they think it's a physical exam that everybody shies away from. So I didn't want to sidetrack, but that was such a very important point, a very important message for everyone to hear.
And I'm putting that in the comments here. But to that point, Keith, let's go back for a second and talk about prostate cancer. Because we talk about breast all the time. And before that, actually, I want to say to Charles that you had hope because you saw your wife survive it. So that helped a little bit. But let's go back and talk about prostate cancer for Black men. What does it really look like? And I think that Charles is very blessed with his case of it, but Black men get prostate cancer at 3 times the rate of white men. Is that correct?
Well, it's the incidence rate is about 70, anywhere between 70 and 80%, which just generally speaking.
So what does that mean? 70, 80% of what?
Higher rate
Higher rate than white men.
than
Okay.
white men. And the death rate is twice. But see, what's interesting is this: if you take everybody in the United States and put them in one bucket, then you get an average. But if you go at the county level in southern states, you'll find that the incidence rate, the death rate, is higher
Way
than
higher. Yeah.
national norms, and we don't know that. And something else that I wanted to bring out: we are post-COVID, and being post-COVID, there are certain groups in our society who have recovered back up to baseline. But Black patients, prostate cancer patients, or Black individuals have not recovered back up to the basic when it comes to screening, diagnosis, and treatment. And so what we're finding is, for both breast and for prostate cancer, people being detected at advanced stages.
We know it's happening for breast all the way.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking? I'm curious to know, because I think for all of these disparities, we historically have contributed quite a bit to social determinants of health, right? What are we thinking about in terms of some of the etiologies for these differences, particularly in the southern states, and how is some of the, not to get too far off topic, but I think what I'm trying to say is to make the point of what's being done to research this, and that's right up your lane, Dr. Crawford, to really understand this better.
See, it's interesting you say that, And so I wanted to contradict you for 1 second. I look at it as structural determinants of health.
Agree.
It's because the social is like, oh, we'll put it's the person's, oh, the
Right.
person lives there in that community. No, the structure of society has created an environment that this happens. And so research is being done, information is being conducted and discovered, but nobody knows about it unless, Finn on one hand and touch on the other hand.
Right,
If we're not pushing this information out on a regular basis, if we're not
right,
bringing awareness to
Right.
disease and cancer and the
right.
importance of early detection screening for all cancers, we're going to get left behind. Matter of fact, we're left
Right.
behind.
We are left behind. We are left behind.
haven't
We're
even
trying to
caught-
catch us up. We're just trying
That's
to
a-
catch us up.
We
Right.
haven't even caught up to where we were when we were still behind.
Yeah.
Like pre-COVID even, yep.
Yeah, pre-COVID. So,
Hmm.
but the research is there. We want to make sure that people don't give up
Yeah.
because there's things that are coming down the pipeline where at one time, if somebody said you had stage 4 disease, everybody was giving up.
Right.
Time to go. And now we have evidence where people are stage 4 disease and 14 years out.
Thriving,
Yeah.
thriving, thriving. And we also know that if you get screening and catch it early,
Yeah.
it's a nothing. You don't, there's a nothing to it. We know that for breast and prostate. So, I think, prostate, when should men start screening for it?
So, and that's I said, Charles,
Yes.
I had to go back because we had to go back to that something that Sherry said, and both you guys were talking about in the community that you're in. They were telling men to stop, not to screen after 65.
No, they weren't providing it. They weren't providing it.
I said because
Oh my God. Oh my God.
right now,
Too though, right? The guidelines are doing this.
yeah, the guidelines are telling people with African ancestry, genetic aberration, genetic mutations,
Mutations.
okay, those with Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry are a class or a family history of cancer. They're at high risk, and that high risk group begins screening or discussions about screening at age 40.
At
And
age 40.
At age 40. So there's a difference.
Right.
There is screening from age 40 and ending at age 75 versus monitoring where you've been diagnosed with prostate cancer and they continue to monitor you. Do you know that people who are not being monitored after 70?
Well, why is monitoring even a thing? Like, why don't they deal with the cancer? Why do they live
Well, they
with cancer?
did. They, so certain people are, they'll watch and wait. So I still have a problem watching and wait.
Yeah, watch and wait for what? For
Watch
you to
and wait
die?
So
Well,
no, watch and wait so it to get larger. So they can go in and do something about it.
That, and I think if it's not going to, this is speaking purely from the surgical perspective, and having a family member with prostate cancer that we're watching and waiting. It's so slow growing and low grade that it wouldn't add a day to his life. It wouldn't change his mortality. And so in those
Watch
instances,
it.
they watch it. But the tricky part though, Ricky, to your point, and you too, Dr. Crawford, is knowing when it's safe to do that. And I had a long conversation with my uncle surgeon about this. I said, well, he's a Black man with diabetes. He's got risk factors for more advanced disease. We know the statistics surrounding Black men. What's the rationale for this that is relative to him, not just the statistics?
Right. The
Right?
standard, the
So-
protocol.
Drive that decision for him.
And so
And-
the problem, and so the problem is when you watch and wait, when it explodes, you don't know. So, I mean, if you're young, and that's why if you're watching and waiting, it's not 2 years. It may be 6 months. Every 6 months, you're going to watch and wait. But there's some people out there who are watching and waiting every 2 years. Some people are watching and waiting for years, and that's not right. And then, but what's happening now, this is very interesting. What's happening now is I call it, and I say this respectfully, is there's the 21st century and the 20th century medicine. So you can be in a horse and buggy, or you can be in a Tesla. And if you understand your genetic makeup and you have access to cutting edge technology in your medical centers or large urology practices, I think Dr. Shore, Neil Shore is in your area. People like that who are with cutting edge technology, that's one group. But a lot of folks in the community don't have access to some of this advanced care. And to me, that's what's frightening. You have to monitor and you have to be prepared to move to the next level. But the concern is this, and this is, and I know I want to hold it up, but there was a paper that was published that was very interesting. And this paper stated that if you look at the PSA, white men who have a PSA close to 12 or 13 are more likely to develop prostate cancer. Men who are Black, who have PSAs 3 and 4, are more likely to develop prostate cancer. So if you reference white men as your control group, and you're saying like, oh, well, from my experience, if your PSA is under 12, then you're not likely to have it. But that's for white men, not for Black men,
Right.
or Black individuals.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like stage 0 breast cancer. What do you do at stage 0? I mean, I don't know that they watch and wait, but the treatments are very white women centric.
Mhm.
And we don't really have any data to validate for what happens with Black women. And so
Well,
at least you have the data.
the trials, Ricky, looking at that, answering that very question, certainly need more diversity in them.
Right, right.
Because there are trials, I'm a PI on a trial looking at observation for stage 0 breast cancer.
Mhm.
But we need better science to understand who's in situ, who's stuck in the duct will actually progress to invasive disease, and what are the genetic changes that hallmark that. In the same way we know for colon cancer now, we can tell you step by step how a polyp becomes a tumor, but we can't do that for breast.
Right, right, right.
To
Right.
even there. I want to ask Mr. Charles and Ms. Cherry really about the concept of survivorship, because Cherry, you said you're a survivor and you're in survivorship, and we spend a lot of time talking about that for women, and I'm curious to know how much of that language
This meeting is being recorded.
into the conversation for men with prostate cancer. Are they talking about survivorship and quality of life and all of these things that have come to the forefront for women in breast cancer?
I think that all of this is, it's better for women because when they have the breast cancer and they have the resources, most of the doctors know how to send their patients out to get to where they need to be, because we still have the cancer clinics and, and helping people with getting their treatments and things like that. And we do offer more to women than they seem to accommodate the men in the prostate area. I don't know.
And that's why, I mean, that's why this messaging is so important. And that's why, I mean, like I said before, you're kind of this inside person who can see how the system works.
Right.
And you can distinguish between social determinants of health versus structural determinants of health. And where are we going wrong, and where are we and where can we change? I had a question during you talked about it. Did anybody talk to you about clinical trials?
Well, I spoke to them about clinical trials, and
You
they
go, girl. I love it. Yes,
You did
ma'am.
like, okay.
Hold on a minute.
I
Yeah,
said, like,
we're
I have to pull up my seat to hear this one.
Yep. Here
I
we go.
talked to them about clinical trials, and the doctor that I spoke to, he said, well, he wasn't sure if there was any clinical trials, and people were seeing people at the medical university who would go over from the VA. And I says, well, I would like to speak with a person that's doing a clinical trial. But I'm not sure if that's impossible at this time being. But see, I know better,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and we're looking
I
for
love it.
all of this information so we can be assured that we're getting the best treatment, or if we're getting a treatment and not waiting around for 5, 6, 7 more months or 8 more months to decide what we're gonna do, you know? So I like to have all of this information like in a box so I can see it.
If I could interrupt, I'd like to say along that critical clinical trial, I think you discussed that quite a bit in January, about what was being accomplished and what was available, and you needed even the Black people to be available for the studies because, like you alluded earlier, they're giving numbers relative to white males, but
Right.
uh, the VA is strange, and they do what they have to do, and they're looking at numbers, I think, more so than patients. As we spoke and asked questions of the doctor going in there, they were more concerned after they found out that we knew some things and questions and was trying to be out front with what was going on. They took on a different attitude in trying to
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
assist. Oh yes, oh yes. And they're giving a lot of people apologies. I don't want the doctor to say, "Oops, I apologize."
Do it
uh,
right the first time. This is your job,
oh,
right?
certainly, and small issues that really of no concern. They say it will be taken care of and done, and it takes weeks to get it done. So if somebody's got an emergency, something need to be done, uh, they fall through the crack. And then some people, that's the only option that they have. And
Mhm.
they could do better, should be better. And in fact, I'm looking to go and see the patient advocate and speak to them about some of what's going on and my experiences, because uh, I'm not concerned about myself, but there are people I know
Should be
that
concerned
don't
about
have the
yourself.
same access, and
Yeah.
they're not being given the same attention, and they should be given differently. You know, my blood work was done. I went and got a copy of my blood work done, and I went to my cardiologist having a stress test. And so I took a copy of the lab reports to him, and he looked at it, and it was he that talked about the number that I should be concerned with, take that back to the primary care. And it was then that they looked after it to give the PSA another look, and then evaluate it and take it again at another time. But had I not have that cardiologist on the outside
Telling you what
suggest
to
I
do.
go
Yeah.
back with that information, I would just be out of the loop. And when they do the blood work or what have you, and in a lot of cases, I'm having my brother to pull his lab work and see whether or not a PSA result is on that lab report. And if not, then go back and request that he gets one. So going forward, you could know. And he's 74 years old, and so,
Yeah.
but
I wanted to flag the PSA and your vitamin D levels also,
Right,
if you keep an eye on those. And
definitely.
and I was going to ask him, from your experience, it's kind of a salty experience when it comes to dealing with the VA. Does it make you wonder what Secretary of Defense Austin was going through?
Oh,
well,
I can imagine.
that was one of I had that written down. I didn't know what it was. With Secretary Alston and Joe Madison, who just succumbed on the 31st of January.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with him?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Joe Madison and his prostate cancer journey, and what he was doing and the listeners that he have. And I was aware of listening and following some things as well as where we are as Black men. And even Prince Charles of Wales, is been diagnosed with it. And so it's not partial about who it will get to.
It
But
doesn't. It's not.
but when you say, I'm thinking about our Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, it was a lot of hoopla when he supposedly went into the hospital and was not doing something according to the protocol. But when he came back and he apologized, in his statements, he made something about his condition, his treatment plan was something pretty much exceptional to the normal recovery, which
course.
created something, caused something different. And even in my case, when I was going, I heard about some prostate examinations or procedures that was badly done, and it created other problems almost worse than what the patient's situation were. And the guy said to me that, well, that's a rarity also, you know. But
Yeah.
if it happens to me, it's 100%. If it happens to you, it's 100%. You know, these things that happen, they put a small number one place and with not the right concern and the procedures, but they could do better. They could do better, but they pick and choose about who they will give the treatment to and not. And that's where medical treatment is at pretty much collectively right now, even within healthcare insurance and everything else, you know.
As large as the population is for the VA hospital and the hospitals around and the patients who do go to the doctors, if forced to do so from a complaint or they're just having problems not being able to go through with their daily
Needs.
yes. And but unless you have a problem or unless you talk about it, unless people know that they need to have a PSA or need to have certain certain treatments for conditions that they may have, people just don't know. And especially the VA patients, you know, they just go, if some go because they're sick, some go because they just love to go to the VA. When they go to that VA, they don't get the necessary treatments that there's at hand they should get. They really don't. Because unless you know you're supposed to have that PSA, unless you know what's going on with your body, and they don't take the time with you, have to make you almost have to jump up on the table and say, hey, this is me. I need to have a PSA, you know, almost like a commercial, so they can listen to you, you know?
And the VA should be all on top of that, especially for Black men, but
they're not.
gosh,
Did
gosh.
is that, and now for Black women, how is that work? Is it kind of the same type of thing?
Yeah,
for
all we
screening?
know is we recently found some data that said 40% of women in the military are going to get breast cancer. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
40% because of where I guess from environmental stuff, exposures, but that's data. We're seeing
And
it.
what's interesting is stage for stage, you still see delayed diagnosis, you still see
Not good
mortality
care.
despite
It's
access to routine mammography. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. And so remember what we talked about before? We talked about, now this is interesting. So the reports also recognize that there's a disparity between, so you said women in the military. Now let's talk about Black women in the military.
Oh no, I mean Black women. Black
Okay,
women in the military.
Yeah.
That data is for Black women.
Yeah.
And so
40% of Black women in the military get
and that
breast
came
cancer.
out recently, and you get the same number for Black men. So it's like white Black men at 1 in 3, and then Black women at this 1 in 3 threshold, and then 1 in 4 with white individuals, white people in the military. And then you have the general population. So, I mean, I'm not trying to beat up the military, but from an environmental standpoint,
Causing cancer.
there's some cancer issues that are coming down the pipeline, and we really need to do something about that.
And you know, Dr. Keith, we see an increase in breast cancer in men, in military men, that we think is largely due to exposures.
Yeah,
so male breast cancer is on the rise, for military men.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So Charles and Sherry, you guys both had cancer, and so you've been a survivor for 6 years, you said, Sherry, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Charles, you're just dealing with it now, right?
Yes,
Do you
yes.
think that do you have fear? Like, I mean, like, you know, the fear, I'm sure the fear that you felt, Cherry, when you first got diagnosed was the fear I felt when I first got diagnosed. Like, do you think
Well,
your fear was lessened because of her hope that she,
and I'm encouraged that the earlier detection and the treatment that could be provided would give me the better treatment, chances.
yeah, and her knowledge about it?
Yes.
If you didn't mind me asking, is it watchful waiting, or are you gonna, or are you gonna go after a?
Well, we're still
surgery?
waiting. I'm going to be speaking with radiation and
You don't know
with the
when.
treatment. I have an appointment coming up. They're going to call. In fact, today we're still had the referral put in for me to go, and so
Mhm.
we're taking care of it to go forward with what we're going to do.
And you're getting an MRI?
He's had the MRI.
I've had the MRI, I've had the biopsy, I've had
Did they give you PIRAD score for the MRI?
Yeah, it was a
you remember
7.
a 7.
You guys get closer together. We can't see your beautiful faces. Cuddle up a little bit.
Your
And we
box,
have, and we
your
have you
box-
on 2 screens. We have you on 2 screens. I don't know
Oh.
which ones you're on. Are you on your phone or computer, but whatever.
so your biopsy, your Gleason score was 7.
Yes.
Okay, and then they should give you a score for your for your MRI, which is called PIRAD. I don't know if they talked to you about that.
I don't think so, no.
You might want to talk about that. And then, but I'm gonna make sure we talk, and we begin this journey together. And so I'm
What
here.
to ask for, what to ask
yeah.
for. Yep. Thank you, Dr.
Because
Keith.
there's something that's coming down when we talk about PSMA PET scan, and that's this ability to now target proteins that are found on the surface of the cancer, and then it'll light up instead of just this general scan. Now you have the ability. You can't see what you can't kill.
Mm.
No, you can't kill what you can't see. And so now we have the ability to identify even remote areas where there's cancer, and it could change your treatment from surgery to radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Well, I think
Dr.
Crawford.
Crawford, I know of an individual right now that he had prostate cancer in the past, and he's requested to get a PSA done just to check, and the person refused to do it or didn't want to do it. So I just don't understand that myself.
I mean, if any person, and then we could take it offline, but any person that needs this type of help, then I need to get in contact with them and I help walk them through. And we can find a clinician in the area. There's some good docs in the area that he should be working with, but anybody refusing to get a PSA, that's a problem.
It is a problem.
And I think we can extrapolate that back to the breast world as well, where women are being told over the age of 65 or over the age of 70 that you should no longer get a mammogram. I hear so many women who say, well, my doctor told me I could stop. And
Is
I
this
actually
black-
asked one and
Black
say,
women or
it's
just
black
all
and
women?
I'm seeing
Oh.
black and white women alike who come to see me with they palpated a mass and they hadn't gotten a mammogram in 2 years. They're 72 years old, and they said, well, the doctor told me I should stop at 70, or I didn't need to go anymore, or I could go every other year if I wanted to, but I don't really want to anyway. I never wanted a mammogram to begin with. So now that it's not required, I didn't get it.
Oh my
And
God.
I think that, yeah, it's unconscionable. And I tell them, with the doctor, if you ask for, because how many people actually ask for a test, but ask for it and somebody's not willing to order it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It sounds as if everybody is in this 20th century medicine when we're in the 21st century, where
That's
we're
right.
personalized, targeted therapy, genetic information, all these there are therapies that are coming down the pipeline that are based upon whether or not you have a BRCA mutation, BR, breast, and CA cancer mutation.
Right.
And if you don't know what your genetic makeup is, and then say, for example, right now, with you guys, and do you have children?
Yeah, do you guys have kids?
Yes.
Did you get genetic testing, both of you?
I didn't do it.
No,
No,
no.
and he hasn't done it, but maybe it's something we need to consider.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well, I mean, Charles, well, offline, but there's a free genetic test. That's a saliva test, and you don't have to worry about a doctor ordering. So I can give you that information.
Okay.
We can get that ordered. I think they still have about
Yeah.
500 more slots available for free tests.
Yeah,
Okay.
we work with My Faulty Genes. We can help with that too, but you guys should definitely get tested for your kids. So I got another question about your diagnosis. So do you think, was it Sherry's prompting that made you get the screening and take the PSA test? Like,
Pretty much.
how did you get the test? Like, how did you get diagnosed? Did you have a symptom or did she just make you do the test? Just curious.
Well, we did the test, and the number was placed on the lab report, but even at the VA hospital, it was not them referring to that number going forward to get the procedures when the numbers were not right going forward, getting the biopsy and the procedure and finding what the numbers are and following through.
Mhm.
That only happened after I took my blood lab report, like I say, out to a cardiologist, and he said, "Why you have to look
Wow.
after that," just like Dr. Crawford asked to look at
Wow.
this other score number. He said to
Wow.
got it written down. We'll take it and look further into that as well.
Do you
And that
recall the number? Do you recall your number?
It was 5 at the time, but now it's 7. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, they weren't worried at all when it was 5 for my age. It had something
Good grief.
That was some years ago.
Yeah, and see, the issue was, and that's what they're teaching folks now is that they're sweeping Black folks under the rug with the general population.
Hmm.
So they're looking, like I said before,
Right,
studies have come out that clearly stated that, well, if
right.
you're a white man and your PSA is 5, you really don't need to worry about it. It's only when it gets to 12. Now, when your PSA is 3 for Black men, you need to worry about it.
You need to worry about it.
So,
You know,
Wow.
this is the backlash from the
I need to go back to my doctor with those numbers then, from how different that is,
and I have the paper, because see I have that paper. I mean, same thing with Dr. Mo and I, we're scientifically based. So we're not going to say something that we
Right.
can't back up with
Right,
fact.
right, right.
And
But
we're
you
not
know,
going to allow you to go to a place without having strong facts to support your discussion.
Right.
And you
and-
have
and
to argue
you're
the
gonna-
point.
I was just gonna say, you're gonna have to talk to your doctors about the use of race in medicine and in clinical care these days, because the pendulum has shifted. We call it away from race-based medicine in a really unfortunate and slightly toxic way, Dr. Keith, I would dare say.
Yeah.
And it becomes an excuse to not see color, right? Because we're getting away from this sort of race-based medicine, because we know that race is a social construct, but it does not take away the lived experience, the shared experience, and the epigenetic factors, I think, that contribute to disease. And I want you to tell people a little bit about how to have that conversation with their doctor. If their doctor says,
Right.
well, we don't really look at race as a determinant anymore, and these are the guidelines, and here's what it is. What should folks say?
Well, it's very interesting that you say that. Is when you're speaking with a doctor, the first thing you need to let them know is you didn't go to Dr. Google. You went to the National Comprehensive Cancer Network that clearly states that people of African ancestry, not color, African ancestry, people who have Jewish ancestry, Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry, or people that have a family history are at high risk.
Right.
I'm not talking about race. We just talk ancestrally. People that have ancestors from Africa are high risk people. And then this information is from the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, the people who write the guidelines that you use to treat people with prostate cancer or with breast cancer. Now, if they're saying it, you can't spend your time with the doctor if they're arguing against the standard of care. Because you really don't want, if they don't want to treat you with the standard of care, I don't think you really need to be with them.
No, no, no. Gosh, you guys. So do you guys have any family history of either cancer?
I don't have any family history of cancer, but
My father had esophageal cancer,
Mhm.
and really, I think a brother that was 15 years older than me had it as well.
mhm, no,
Had prostate cancer?
Esophageal.
esophageal.
Oh, esophageal.
They
Oh,
were
and-
chewing tobacco, they chewed a lot of tobacco
No, I don't think neither one did
and
tobacco.
no smoking
My
either.
father smoked. My father
Yeah.
smoked,
Smoke, okay.
but my brother did not. But my brother had you said it was
Leukemia.
leukemia. He had
Mhm.
leukemia.
Was he in the military at all?
He was in the military, and then he also got, I think, exposed to a lot of the elements that may have contributed to it. He died at 62.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
he was probably born around 1930. But there's a lot. You asked earlier about uh Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Now, I think with the clinical trials and the studies of individual patients, his history and the experience of when he discovered and began treatment and things of this nature and the quality of treatment, all of these things are, I think he would be a good example of what goes forward. Because I'm just outside and thinking whether a portion of his procedures was botched, as he said something happened was outside of the norms that he went to, and it seemed like it was some kind of emergency. And since that initial, he has returned and is still, pretty much.
Is he still in? Is he still in? Did he
No,
go?
he went in and he stayed for several hours, and I think they diagnosed him with some bladder problem, and he's out. But I haven't had any contacts about it, maybe 24 hours. But
But you know what else is interesting too? This is just a sidebar. He had robotic surgery.
Yes.
okay.
Mm.
Well, in that you said that, when I was asking the guy, that's what messed some guy up too with robotic surgery. The area that was supposed to go in, the robot went out of the place and ruptured other organs that created other problems for the person. Had the doctor that was controlling the robot did do what he was supposed to, then the procedure would go fairly simple.
Mhm.
But I don't know what he meant when he said, his concern was a bit different and out of the norm. What was out of the norm? He said that when he was given apologies for not communicating
Mm.
his conditions, and they made all kind of, hoopla about that. But
But I'll leave that alone because I have a problem with just, I mean, respectfully, just had a problem with robotic surgery and the ability of outside people knowing when you have a procedure, and people can hack into computers, hack
Mm.
into the OR equipment, especially with robotics. And
Mhm.
because you're downloading software. So I'm not a conspiracist person, but there's certain things about keeping things private,
Yes.
and it's
Mhm.
very important.
Mhm.
That
Okay.
that is a topic for another show for sure, because
Right? Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
we definitely need to talk about. There have been a number of hospitals that have been hacked, and health systems and EMRs and protected information that's not so protected. So we should definitely talk about that for a future show.
Mhm.
Yeah. I know we're gonna
So
do that with
I had a quick question, and
Jillian.
and if we put everything all this together, where did spirituality
Mm.
fall for you guys?
Well,
Mhm.
uh, I'm I'm faithful and hopeful and prayerful and I'm not I
Well, I know I am faithful. I pray a lot, and I believe that God has put these new things into happening so that we could be better assessed and better treated. Because if it wasn't for God, we wouldn't all be here. We'd all have a problem. So he is the center of
Hello.
my life. Okay?
I just
Center
love
of Mary's life.
I think
I
we are
love-
all blessed that God is in control, you
That's
know,
for sure.
and I remember saying, okay, God, we're about to jump off this cancer cliff. You know what I got to do here? Like work it out. And I know this is my God job. He left me here to do this work. And so
Right.
y'all are here for a reason. You're helping all these people that are watching us today. And
Because
And-
Can we talk about love though, and the
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
of love? in
Love.
your
yeah,
story?
yeah. On
And
Love Day.
that circle, let's do a full circle moment and come back to what role love has played in your journey and in your story so far.
Yeah. Now look at the love rock they got. You see
I
that?
see, you see it?
I love that.
We
No, let-
about to get off. We about to end this in a few minutes.
No,
They're
let-
doing the
let me
love
say,
dance.
I don't get the love no more, but she's got a couple grandbabies.
Oh, you're done. You're done.
That's taking it all right now, you know, and
That's okay.
I look that they're not giving me the love. They're giving grandma all the love, and that's where the love's at. But we got 3 children and 3 grandchildren, and we're doing well. You know, that song that song that Nancy Wilson had out sometime, you know, sometimes she tell me to go, and then if I don't go, she said, well, you might as well stay.
I love that.
Because we had to go old school on us.
Well, and we've been together since elementary school, you know, so
Oh, wow. How many years? How many years is that?
30?
no, we've got a son that's gonna be 60 this year,
God bless you.
daughter 55 and a daughter 51,
God bless you. So how long have y'all been married?
all our lives,
60 years.
all our lives.
Listen, well, can I respectfully? I don't want. I'm not gonna say nothing. But,
Don't say nothing. Don't say
okay,
nothing.
I'm just
Don't
saying,
start
well,
any stuff.
I'm not gonna start no stuff. Ain't gonna be no mess. I ain't gonna start no mess. That's what. I mean,
Wow.
Like Joe said, you know, and the recordings, he's got those classic recordings, which is great. And, you know, that's what I've been listening to. And Joe has been an advocate for we, and he's going to be missed.
mhm.
Yeah.
And
and I just wonder what happened to him.
I
'Cause
know.
know
I put his story in the comments.
well, it's speculating of sort, but you know, sabotage is purposeful. So,
Right.
and I'm speculating, but he said, look with a third eye, or ears, and what have you, you know, and that's all you got to do.
And that's why you said earlier about participating in clinical trials.
Got
It's so important because
Mhm.
there are people out there that will pay for your transportation. So if you live in Houston, you can fly to South Carolina
Mhm.
to go to a clinical trial, pay for your hotel. I mean, there's pharmaceutical companies are wanting to diversify us
Mhm. And
in
get us in
clinical
them and do
trials.
anything to get us. Yep. When we
And they
need to
want
be in them. We need
and
to be in them.
everybody
Yes.
they're starting to cover expenses.
That is wonderful to know. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. You should definitely, and if they're not covering expenses, then there's a problem with the trial because they have the money to do it and they need to be doing it.
And you should be very careful about that because
Yeah.
some of them will, well, if your insurance doesn't cover 20% of it, they're gonna leave the patient with the clinical trial. I said, well, then you don't really need to
Mhm.
be
No,
working
you don't need to be that part trial.
because if they, you know, but it is very important for Black folks to participate. And from the prostate cancer and you and Mo and Dr. Mo and Ricky, if you can help me with the breast perspective, do we have an idea how many women need to be participating in clinical trial? What percentage of women should be in a clinical trial? Has anybody talked about those numbers?
Well, you know, the way I look at it, and Mo, I'll let you speak to it too, is that I think that the participation of Black women should be commensurate with the burden of disease.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
look at like a disease like I had, triple negative breast cancer,
Right.
that Black women get at 3 times the rate of white women. I don't know how to, I'm not smart enough to do that math, but the number of women in the trial need to reflect that fact and that percentage, right? And I
And
think, you know,
go ahead.
it's got to be bigger than the population because we're getting the disease because of our mortality rate.
Okay.
Right, not just the incidence, because if you look at the
Right.
incidence of things like breast cancer overall, you'll see the incidence, okay,
the
well,
same.
1 in 8, right? The incidence is the same, but the burden of disease and the mortality is higher. And so I think that I agree with Ricky. I mean, it'd be nice to just see it even at the incidence, right? We're looking at single digits, 2%, 3%, 4%
You ain't lying,
participation.
3%. And
Right.
and then let's flip it. Can we just
Mhm.
draw a line between above 40 and below 40?
Oh, don't even get me
Oh,
started
don't
on
even
young
get
women.
started on that one. You know, that's a sore topic.
That's another show for
That's
sure.
that's a whole, because if I'm walking in trying to talking to young women in their 20s, I mean, and this was, I was at a college now, I wasn't just talking to them. I was at a college talking about the importance of genetics and breast cancer and prostate cancer and women being diagnosed in college, Black women.
Oh, yeah.
20
Well, you know, our Ari got breast cancer at 19 and again at 21. You know, we're seeing it that young, but that's why you know, we have an BCU internship program. And we actually had an intern in college last year who was dealing with breast cancer, one of our interns.
Mhm.
So it's, you know, Black women under 35 are getting breast cancer at 3 times the rate of white women dying at twice the rate. That's crazy. And we
And
have
there was something else that Dr. Mo said something that was interesting. She slipped in epigenetics.
yeah,
And that's that environmental factors playing a role on genetic damage or restricting, well, in this case, restricting certain aspects of the gene opening up or being exposed. So there's these outside factors that play a role in the incidence of cancer in Black folks. We're constantly under a level of microaggression every day.
yeah.
And dealing with racism, overt racism, that people won't even acknowledge exists.
That impacts our very genes, right? Our very gene expression.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what's in your genes is
Yeah.
love. It is. It's connectivity, right? It sounds like 60 years together, right? How long you been together? 60 years. And
They've been
that
married 60 years. They've been together since, what'd you say, grade school?
Grade school.
Wow.
elementary school. Wow.
Wow.
Well, I was
One more
there
fact
I hope you're talking about 6th grade. At least they was 6th grade together. I said, no, we were 2nd grade. I went to 2nd grade with her.
I was keeping your hair in inkwells, right, like my parents. But one other fact about young women, I just found Black women between the ages of 20 and 29 have a 53% increased risk of breast cancer compared to white women. Black women ages 30 to 39 have a 15% greater risk of breast cancer. So those are incidence rates of young women.
So help me understand, why
throw
is
those in the
that a battle cry or an alert that's broadcasted nationally?
Well, it's starting to be.
Yeah.
And you know, when you look at the American Cancer Society report, you look at the World Health Organization, the fastest growing demographic, 30 to 39 years old, and that's all comers for breast cancer.
Right.
And so they're starting to sound the alarm now, but it's only because it's affecting other folks as well as people of color, right? The minority majority, right? And so it's because it's starting to affect everybody else, and it's a Me Too moment that it now has really surfaced to the top as a cry, a battle cry, and unfortunately, I think the tools to detect cancer earlier, right? The guidelines have not caught up. There's so much work to be done,
Yeah.
Keith, you know, to find out who's even at risk and not
Right.
missed by your doctor, because
Yeah.
you know, little rectal bleeding must be a hemorrhoid, right? Oh, you got a little, you know, you feel a lump. Oh, it's probably this. And we do that as clinicians, and we have to retrain ourselves because we have been indoctrinated to believe that cancer is solely a disease of aging, and that's shifting everything on its head.
Yeah. And that's what we were focusing so much on, love of my girls. You know, we're trying to educate young women who don't have cancer. Like Friday, we're doing a roller skating party in DC. So if you're in the DC DMV area, check our Instagram. You can get the info on our roller skate, because we're trying to talk to women who aren't even thinking about it. And we try to catch them
Well,
off.
you better talk to them about bone health while you're out there.
Oh yeah, I'm not skating either, because I'm appreciative of
Mm.
not wanting to fall. I know. My,
Yeah.
I'll go cheer
I
'em on.
think I wanted to add that one thing. Do you feel that this momentum towards acknowledging cancer in underrepresented groups will lose that momentum if the right people aren't in the White House? Or is there something that can bypass presidential elections and presidential candidates?
Everything's affected by the White House. Everything's affected, you know, and listening to Joe was, you know, and it's purposeful what is happening to us, and the concern that restricting us. I mean, and just hearing some of those numbers that you're talking about that are occurring with we as a people, Black people, and the other race is pretty much free of it. You know, I don't think it's by chance it's happening. It probably is purposeful, like some of the political decisions that are being made, and the rule of law not being adhered to are respected. And
Mhm.
you know, it's
Well, we
and
need more doctors that look like myself.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's one of the needs that we do. We have a
definitely-
lack of that, because these other Caucasian doctors, they really don't, I mean, they treat you because they have to, but they really don't have that concernment that you or I would have about a patient that looks like us.
You know, the heart's not in it. And though they take the oath and they say all the things, I also think illicit bias is rampant. And I, even when white doctors have good intentions, they just aren't aware that, you know, they have to triage the patient for whether they ate today, or whether they, you know, where their kids are. Did they have their last meal? Who's taking care of them? And you guys are so blessed. I mean, we have so many people that are alone, that are dealing with this and don't have a support system. And so don't have love and trying to deal with it. We had one woman this summer who was living in her car. Her husband put her out when he found out she got a mastectomy, put her out the house and was living in her car. And so, you know, we see it all, and, you know, makes me count my blessings every day. And I'm so glad that you guys have each other and have love. And, you know, I'm always calling these two docs saying, okay, because it's patient, how can we help her?
I mean, but we have to accept the fact that we are on call.
Yes, and I do call them at all hours of the day and night. I don't care.
No, I'm talking about we're
I know, we're all.
Yeah.
all of us on
Blessings.
the panel
Yes.
on call.
We're all on
Some
call.
way we're on call because we have to get the message out.
We do.
And I think that's an important take home. If you're watching this, you're on call. And
That's right.
we are holding you accountable to share this to your social media network, share it with your family, share it with your friends, share it on YouTube. You can find it on Touch the Black Breast Cancer Alliance, Touch BBCA's YouTube page, on Black Doctor. It'll be replayed. And we want you to share this information because love is going to see us through, all of us. And whether it's romantic love or the love we have for our people and our profession and this advocacy work that we do, we want you to feel the love.
Yeah, and you can always, and we're serious about it. We have to recognize that we were placed here for a reason. I said,
Right.
and everyone, we're
And
here. And it's not this concept of oh, at 5 o'clock. I said, we don't govern ourselves by the clock, by 5 o'clock.
No.
We recognize that if we're not there, there's not that many people out there like us
That's
that
true.
are available for you to talk to help you navigate, to help you knock down some doors, and create content like we're creating tonight. I mean, this lovely couple right here.
Right.
And at family reunions, birthday parties, I mean, you have to really reach out to people because some people don't hear what you're saying.
Right.
They listen to other people that really don't know what's going on,
Mm.
I've known of people who they cleaning up somebody's house and then the television's on and then the person's talking about breast cancer and the person realized, well, golly, I feel like I got something here. And then that's when they realize that they need to go see a doctor,
Mhm.
And I've known patients who actually went to a doctor's office and the doctor's doing everything other than
Check the breath.
examining the person
Right.
and just asking questions about blood pressure and diabetes or whatever, but never once, but it's supposed to be a physical.
Mhm. They
And
ain't even touch him.
Never touches a person.
never touches a
Never
person.
touches
It
a
was this lady, I mean, God had to be there for her because there was an intern that asked that doctor, could he do an examination on that patient?
Wow.
And when he did, when that lady opened her blouse, I mean, she had the biggest,
Are
the
you?
the and the
Mm.
breast was so, I mean, it was so big, and you could see the almost see the cancer and the sore and everything. And he was asking her how she took care of that, and immediately he told that doctor she really needs to be referred to, and the story just goes on, and this happens all the time. If a doctor's not interested, and I tell people, if he don't seem to be interested in you and you ask about second opinion, you ask about something that you are concerned about, then that's the time you need to part with that doctor because he is of no service to you. He doesn't
Say
care
that.
what happens to you. Just
Amen.
go,
Amen. Amen. Amen.
find somebody else or call me.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's what we have to do.
That's what we
Yes.
have to do. And we'll get on the phone. Keith, I'll get on the phone and we'll get on the phone with the doc. We'll get
We'll
on Zoom.
find something.
Yeah.
We'll work it out because we will not let it happen.
It's true. It would not be the first time that we were on speakerphone, right?
I know on
In the
speakerphone.
office,
I kicked
but
out.
ask
I got
questions.
kicked out. I've been kicked out a few times. Oh well.
Too.
Whatever.
And
Whatever.
so,
That's
and
what we're here
so
for, not
everyone
God.
has to recognize the doctor is not your manager, that's your consultant.
Right.
Exactly.
You're the manager. You're the CEO.
Mhm.
You're the girl boss.
That's right.
Whatever you got to be. You guys, I can't let this episode end without reading 1 Corinthians.
Good.
And 13, you know what I'm talking about. And you know what? I found a new version today. Like I'm always reading the scripture, but I had never read the Amplified Bible version. So I'm gonna read it. Okay.
Perfect.
Love endures with patience and serenity. Love is kind and thoughtful and is not jealous or envious. Love does not brag and is not proud or arrogant. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not provoked nor overly sensitive or easily angered. It does not take into account a wrong endured. It does not replace an injustice, but rejoices with the truth. When right and wrong prevail, love bears all things, regardless of what comes. I love that. Love bears all things, regardless of what comes. Believes all things, looking for the best in each other. Hopes all things, remaining steadfast during difficult times. Endures all things without weakening. Love never fails, it never fades nor ends.
Wow.
So happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you for being an example of love.
Because we need some role models out there.
You do. Yeah.
We hope it's been relatable, reliable, and real. That's what we do every Wednesday on Black Doctor. We're so grateful to our sponsors for this time and opportunity, and Black Doctor for the platform.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate you and what you're doing, especially all the wonderful doctors and the things that they're trying to implement in our community. It's been very helpful to have Dr. Crawford and his FIN program that he does every month. I really love it. He's a wonderful person and he really gives out the great information that we all need to have.
Great. And we put his
Your
website in the
voice.
chat. And
Yes.
we love you, Dr. Keith.
Well,
That's
hey, I love everybody. I love our team, and we love everyone in the United States. We want the best for everyone.
Yeah.
We're gonna do our best. I mean, I respectfully believe that we're chosen to do what we're doing.
It's our God job. It's our God.
Mhm. And if we don't do it, who's gonna do it?
Who's gonna do it? Why not us, right?
That's
We
right.
gotta
That's
get
right.
these guys on Love Your Bones too in a couple months, Keith. That's
Mhm.
Oh,
me.
that'll be
Person.
good.
And
All right then.
All
I
right.
love you, Mo. I love you, Mo.
Oh, so
Love
that's
you
how you do it. I can do that on Valentine's Day.
No.
You can do it. There it is.
No, our new word is blessedy. You're my
There
bestie.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
beautiful.
okay.
is the heart.
How'd you do that? Those
Yes.
balloons,
We love
heart,
you,
stuff
bestie.
like that.
Bestie.
Got that update.
And the
You got
Seabrooks, I will be talking with you if we have some stuff to do with the churches, whatever you need.
Sure.
We get because we have to get that word out when we start talking about stop getting a PSA at 65.
Oh my gosh, no, stop that mess. All right. All right, my blesties. Have a great date tonight.
Thank
it.
you.
Enjoy the Valentine's Day.
Happy
Happy Valentine's.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take it easy.